Welcome back to West Texas View.
Welcome back to the West Texas View. Gloria Youngblood has been telling us about her experience in missions work and how she got involved, and she is now a long time experienced person in many countries, but lately you've been pretty much concentrating your work on Uganda. And talk about how you got involved in work there.
We have a missionary through the Baptist, and he and his wife have been in Uganda for 30-something years. Originally we started out going with him and through him to Uganda different times through our church. And we've been different places in Uganda, up north, which is Moyo, Uganda. We've been really far west Uganda, which is Bundibujo, Uganda. And on one of those trips, and I want to say that was 2003, we were passing through a place called Fort Portal. And as we were passing, we have to go, the trip from when we landed in Entebbe to this western part, Bundibujo, was 9 hours on the road. Really bad roads, through the mountains, through the jungle, you know, just one of those adventures you always hear about. It took us 9 hours to get there, so we would spend the night halfway through in a place called Fort Portal, Uganda. Well, on this first trip through Fort Portal, or second trip I guess it was, I just asked our missionary a question, because high on a hill there was a big palace in this village in the middle of nowhere. And I said, what is that palace? You know, what is that? It's round, it's beautiful. He said, well, that's the palace of the youngest king in the world, King Oyo. He is now 12, I think he was 11 or 12 years old at the time. And that struck me because my granddaughter was the very same age at that time. And so I was just fascinated by it, and we finished our trip, but something happened that I cannot explain. I began feeling a huge
divine guidance
connection, burden, whatever you want to call it, to contact the king. And I'm not that type of person normally. I'm not going to go out and just, you know, try to contact.
Not bold.
Well, not like that, you know. I mean, there was no reasoning behind it. But for some reason, I felt led to contact the king. So I began a process before the next trip, and that was going to be, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 months later. I can't even remember how long it was, to try to get in contact with the king. So I went through the Uganda Tourism Department, began going through the process of asking them, how would I contact the king? How could we pay the king a visit on our next trip? And they would ask questions like, well, why do you want to contact the king? I think they were a little bit suspicious of my motives. And I said, well, really, I don't have a reason. I said, he's the same age as my granddaughter, and we're from Texas, and I would like to present him some Texas gifts, because, you know, we're very proud here in Texas. So I kept, you know, back and forth, never heard anything from them. So I thought, okay, that's not going to happen.
Forget it.
So I went on the mission trip, met our missionary, drove all the way to Bundibujo, spent the night in Fort Portal, drove to Bundibujo, was doing our work there, and it's really in the bush, Bundibujo is. It's really tough times when you go there. So you don't have nice clothes. You're dressing pretty bad to be able to do your work. And I get a call from my daughter on my cell phone, and even over there, you know, the cell phones would reach, and she says, Mom, I just got a call, or you just got a call from the Prime Minister of the Toro Kingdom, and he would like to meet with you this trip. He's got an arrangement for you to meet the king. Well, here I am in Bundibujo. I have horrible looking clothes.
Combat boots.
Yes, I have no gifts. I didn't bring gifts because I wasn't going to meet him, except for some puppets, some inexpensive Texas things that I was just going to give to people there, you know. I thought, okay, well, I'm grabbing whatever I can grab, and this is going to work. So we left our work there after we finished. Our missionary drove us to, actually, we weren't going to be able to see him in Fort Portal. He was actually going to school in Kampala, which is the big city of Uganda. So we drove all the way to Kampala, back the 9 hours, freshened up as much as we could because they wanted to see us that evening after we'd gotten in. And I grabbed my gifts, and the missionary's wife had gotten us traditional African dresses. So we did have something nice, and the men just put on their jeans with a tie, and we drove to the city palace. And of course, you know, we drive through and the gates swing open and the prime minister meets us, and we go up there and he gives us a proper protocol for meeting the king. So we're real excited. And so we drive in the gates and we go into the calling room, the drawing room, or whatever you want to call it. And there's beautiful Queen Mother Bast Kimagisa to meet us.
Who has been on this program.
Who's been on this program, and some of her staff or cabinet members. And, you know, then she said, we're waiting for King Oyo to come in here. And, of course, she's just lovely. She's just one of those people that the first time you meet her, you fall in love with her anyway. We're sitting around just chatting, and pretty soon here comes King Oyo, this 12-year-old boy at the time. He was 12 by the time we met him. This was 2004. And he's got a polo shirt and slacks on, you know, nothing that looks kingly or royal. And he comes in and he sits in this chair draped with a leopard skin. That's the traditional, it's been in their family for years and years since his dad was on the throne. And he sits there and we have our proper greetings, and then it's my turn to go first to greet him. Well, the prime minister said we need to bow. So out of respect, I go up there and I bow in front of him, and I start presenting him the gifts, which was a puppet, a watch, and some other little trinkets.
$10 worth of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, you know, I was like, oh, I'm kind of embarrassed, but maybe he won't care. Well, sure enough, he didn't care that much. He was all, a big old grin came across his face. And a little bit later, he had disappeared, and I asked Queen Mother where he was, and she said, well, he's upstairs playing with his puppet. So, you know, that was kind of a fun moment. But anyway, we really hit it off, and Queen Mother just looked at me, and she said, I love you. And she's just that type of person. But we talked about the kingdom and the work that could be done there and that type of thing. And as a result of that meeting, and of course, her brother was there, David, and he's actually been to the States. He's been to Dallas area and that type of thing. And he said, one of these days, maybe King Oyo will pay you a visit. I said, okay, that would be nice. But then I left and I thought, probably not, you know.
We're going to have to take a break. We're going to come back and hold that story because this is a cliffhanger. We'll see you in just a minute.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.